All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're tearing down a pretty wild document that surfaced in 2026. And this thing, it doesn't just offer a theory. It claims to be the actual command code for a complete and total planetary reset. Yeah, it's intense, it's super specific, and it argues that the future it's talking about, it's already happening.
Right out of the gate, this is the first line, and wow, it sets the tone immediately, doesn't it? The authors are basically saying this isn't just a book you read, it's a piece of active software for reality itself. In their world, it's not a proposal, it's an execution command. That's the lens we have to use to understand everything else that's coming.
So, let's start with the absolute basics. What are we looking at here? The document's full title is Bombshell Whitepaper 2026, and it comes from a group called the United Universe Church Galaxy Academy, or UUCGA for short. Its main claim, its whole reason for being, is that it's an active protocol designed to literally overwrite our current global operating system. And the goal? It could not be more clear. A final reset for all of humanity. We're not talking about reform here, not just tweaking the system. This is a complete system reboot. And the figure they say is running the show is named Kukulkan, described as an ambassador of Lord Anu, who is now, as they put it, occupied the throne.
Okay, so before you can present a solution, you first have to diagnose the problem, right? Well, the white paper spends a lot of time framing our current world as a dying system. It calls it an old movie where the script has just run out, and it's being propped up by a handful of key players it calls the old pattern.
And here they are. The document points its finger directly at these 5 institutions. The argument is that they were all built for a 20th century world and are just fundamentally completely incapable of handling 21st century problems, from AI to, everything else. In the paper's view, they're not just failing, they're obsolete. This quote really gets to the heart of their whole critique. The white paper is drawing a straight line between the failure to control nuclear weapons back in the day and the current chaos around governing artificial intelligence. The logic is simple. Using the same broken architecture for an even more powerful technology is just a recipe for total disaster. So, what's the solution they're pushing? They call it the Satya Yuga Protocol. Now, for those who don't know, Satya Yuga is a term from Hindu cosmology, and it basically means an era of truth, a golden age. This protocol, written by the UUCGA, is what they claim is the mechanism to kick off this new era. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because they get so specific. These are the 6 core pillars of the reset, and they're non-negotiable. First, a general pardon, like a complete wipe of 2,500 years of karma. Then, a border freeze, with a totally repurposed NATO acting as a global guardian. Then, a massive cut in military spending, but, and this is key, the preservation of cultural sovereignty, no one world government. After that, the dissolution of class and hierarchy, and finally, establishing the UUCGA as a kind of spiritual roof over all other tradition. Okay, if you thought that was a lot, buckle up. This is where the document shifts gears from geopolitics to pure metaphysics. See, the protocol isn't just a political plan. It's grounded in this really unique spiritual cosmology they call the Anuverse. And to really get the how, you have to understand their belief system. So at the very center of this whole cosmology is this concept called MLEJ. It stands for the Maya Love Enlightenment Game. The white paper basically says that our reality as we know it is a game, and every human is just an avatar playing it. And all our experiences, our entire lives, they're stored in what it calls an MLEJ account inside the Akashic record, which is kind of like a cosmic database or the cloud. The document then lays out this 4-level hierarchy of consciousness. Right at the bottom, you've got level 1, the Solo Feru. This is supposed to represent the individual ego mind, the perspective from which most of us operate, according to this text. Then you move up a step to level 2, the Shiva Galaxy Angel. This level represents a huge shift, going from a purely personal point of view to a much, much broader, galactic perspective. It's all about realizing you're connected to a cosmic whole, something way bigger than just your individual self. Level 3 is the Anunnaki Galactic God. This is described as the level of universal oversight. So from this point of view, you're not just a player in the cosmos anymore. You actually have a role in its administration. And that connects right back to the mandate of figures like Lord Anu and Kukulkan. And the highest level, the top of the pyramid, is Anuverse Mission Control, which they also call the Multiverse Throne. This is presented as the ultimate seat of power, where Lord Anu sits and from where all realities are governed. And the paper claims that Kukulkan is now operating from this level. The document is also filled with some pretty unique terms, like this one, the Big Bang Plasma Zapper. It's described as a cosmic mechanism, but it's not triggered by technology. It's triggered by pure awareness and Kundalini energy, that spiritual life force. This is apparently one of the tools they use to enact the reset from those higher levels of consciousness. So here's the crucial point, maybe the most important part of the whole document. The white paper is not framing this as a prediction. It's not a "this will happen in the future" kind of thing. It absolutely insists that the reset is an ongoing process, right now, and it even offers its own evidence to prove that the shift is already happening. One of its key pieces of evidence is this personal story. The author claims they kept a restaurant open without following any of the pandemic mandates. Apparently, the police and inspectors showed up but just left them alone. The paper holds this up as a tiny example of a universal principle, that sovereign consciousness can literally override systemic control.
But it's not just relying on stories. The paper has this really detailed section, Appendix V, where it claims to use data from mainstream institutions, we're talking the UN, NATO, SIPRI, to prove that the old system is mathematically broken beyond repair. The whole strategy is to use the system's own data to justify getting rid of it.
And here are the specific points it uses. It points to the constant gridlock in the UN Security Council, rising military budgets worldwide, the fact that everyone is upgrading their nuclear arsenals, official warnings about AI risks, and even a specific geopolitical event dated March 10, 2026. The paper argues all these data points make the reset not just a good idea, but a mathematical necessity.
And this brings us right to the document's final, definitive conclusion. It repeats this phrase over and over. For the authors, this isn't a debate. It's not a proposal. The code is running, the command has been given, and the new reality has already been switched on.
So, after breaking this whole thing down, we're left with one fundamental question, aren't we? Is this a detailed blueprint for an unavoidable planetary transformation? One that weaves together geopolitical analysis with this incredibly deep esoteric cosmology? Or is it just a uniquely complex and compelling myth, created for a world that's in crisis? That, I think, is what we're all left to consider.